What's up everyone? Welcome back to my Full Start School YouTube channel. In today's lesson, we're going to build this task management application using the Flutter GetX package. So first, I'm going to show you the complete application you're going to build after you finish this tutorial. As you see, we have a list of task types shown on our homepage. You can click this Add Card to add the new task type. For example, here I'm going to add a new task type. I'm going to call it Sport. When I press this Confirm button, the new task type will add to our list, right? And you can also long press this task card. You will see our floating action button immediately change to this delete icon. So you could move this task card to this delete icon and you will be successful deleted. For each individual task, we will show a progress indicator on the top of those task cards. For example, we finish all the to-dos inside the work task, so the progress indicator will point to the end. We could also click each individual task type to see what to-dos inside. For example, here I click this work task type and we will see there only one to-do item, which is fix bug inside this work task. And also I mark it as complete. So we could add one more to-do item in this work type. For example, we're going to write the block. Then you're going to hit this ticked icon. You will add to your ongoing to-do item list. You will notice this progress indicator also changed according to the total number of doing to-do item and the total number of complete to-do item. Let's add one more to-do item to our work task. For example, have a meeting call. And you notice we have this square checkbox before our to-do item. By click this checkbox, you will mark this to-do item as complete. You could either delete the complete to-do item by swipe from right to left. Then we go back to our home page. So the progress indicator will also change dynamically according to how many tasks you finished inside each individual task type. You could also create a to-do item in a fast way by clicking this floating action button. So for here, I'm going to add have a meeting call this to-do item to my work task. By click this done, you will notice we have a 3 to-do item inside our work task, right? And you will successful add to our doing list, and we can mark it as complete. And our progress indicator will also change from task detail page and the home page as well. Last but not least, you could also check your statistic report by clicking this report icon on the bottom navigation bar. You could see the total number of to-do items you create and how many to-do items you complete and how many to-do items are still alive, right? You could also see your overall efficiency. So that's basically for this entire application, and it's fully functional, and all the data will store in your local database. That's pretty much it. If you to my channel, feel free to reach out to my channel page and you will find a Flutter GetX tutorial, Flutter tutorial, the programming language tutorial, and Flutter UI from the scratch tutorial. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel, thumb up my content, and open the notification so you won't miss out the latest Flutter tutorial. Okay, without further ado, let's get started. First of all, we're going to create our project. So let's open our terminal. and we will navigate to our projects folder, and we're using the Flutter command to create project. Here going to call it GetX to do list, right? But hit enter and just wait few seconds. Okay, indicate we have success to create this project. Now we open our Visual Studio Code and navigate to our projects folder, find this GetX to do list, and we open. Okay, so this will be our initial project. And we are going to do some project setup for our to-do list. So first of all, let's open our mind map. Talking about the GetX pattern, we will follow these GetX best practice to structure our project. And also I have created this diagram. We also follow the MVC pattern to separate our business logic and module and view. So let's back to the Visual Studio Code. So first we're going to add a dependence for our GetX package, and let's open the pub.dev, and we're going to find the dependence. We'll copy and paste it here and save this pub species YAML file, and we can close for now. And as we mentioned before, we will have this application folder to store our entire application. So we'll create an app folder. Inside the app folder, we will have our data folder, and we have our modules folder, and then we have a common widget which we'll share among all different pages. So we have a widgets folder, which is common widget, and we have this core folder. The core folder contains a list of keys or colors, and we will create the home folder under the modules folder, and we will have a detail folder and report folder. Under the home folder, we will have our view.dar, controller.dar, and binding.dar. And then we will have a folder contain a local widget, which we'll use by our home page. And for the home view, for here, I just return a very simple home page, which extend a stateless widget, but we will change it to get view later. So here I just want to see if we can run this application in our emulator. So we're going to replace it with a scaffold. We have a body attribute, and we're going to simple return our home page. Okay, so make it constant as well. And then we can back to our main.dar. We can delete everything under the line 32. And we could remove this theme as well. For the title, I'm going to change it to do list using GetX. Okay, so we're going to return our home page and remove this title. Okay, so, and also since we were using GetX, so we will change the material app to get material app. So we need to import the library. Oh, sorry, we need to import library. Okay, so here. And we could move the constant before this get material app. And I think that's pretty much it. And we could try to run our application by hit this run button. So just wait for a few minutes, because this will be our first time run this application to our device, so it would take a little bit longer than usual. Okay, after a few minutes, we see our application completely run on our virtual device. So after that, we're going to add some file under this code folder. So first, I'm going to create a utils folder, and then I need the values folder. So inside this utils folder, we're going to have our extension .dart. So for the extension, we're going to implement this percentage sized, which extend on double. We're going to make our widget height and width responsive according to different type of screen size. And same for the text. So we write those two methods to respond our widget height and width and font size. And also we need another two methods. One is color from hex string, and another one is you convert the color to hex string. Right, so this one will return you a color object, and you pass this hex string, and you will return this color object. Another method is using your color object, and you will get your hex string. The reason we're doing this, because we're going to store the icon and the color to our task module. As you see from the design file, each task will have a specific color, right, with its icon. So we will store those information in our task module. And for our task module, we will store the title, which is a string type, and the icon, which is integer type, and the color, also string type, which will store the hex string of the color. And last will be a list of dynamic type that will store our to-do item. And here I make it a nullable, because we can create a task without any to-do item inside it. Here we now store the icon type and color type for this project, because this is our GetX tutorial, a project we're using a GetX package to create the complete application, and we'll focus on the GetX package only. So for those Json serialization topic, we could create another tutorial, and we will talk about that in my future video. Back to the Visual Studio Code, we will create colors.dart under this values folder, and we will store our purple color, pink color, deep pink, green, yellow, light blue, and blue, and we save this file. Next, we will create another file, which is icons.dart. We will store a list of icon data. Here we have a list of code point. The reason I'm doing this, because when you go to icon data's official document, you will see it has a constructor. We will take this integer type of code point. They will create the exactly the icon we want. So we could store those code point in this separate icons.dart file. Next, we're going to set up our storage services. In here, I'm going to use get storage. It's a fast extra light and synchronized key value in memory, which backs up the data to disk at each operation. It's written entirely in Dart and easily integrated with Get framework of Flutter. So first we need to do is install this package. So we will copy the dependence, and we will paste in our YAML file here. and I think this one should move up, yeah. And we're going to save our pub/cbc YAML file, and then you need to do is you need to import this library in our main.r. Also, we're going to initialize our storage before we run our application. So we will probably initialize our get storage by coding this init method, and we need to make these main method asynchronized so we can save it. Seems it will store the key value pair in our local storage, and then I'm going to create another file which store our keys, and the key I'm going to make it constant. I call it task key tasks. Okay, and going to save it. Then we will use this key in our get storage. So back to this data folder, we're going to create a new one. I'm going to call it services, and inside this services, we're going to create our storage folder, and we will have services.tar and the repository.tar. So for our services, we will create the storage service that extend the get services. So create a class which is a storage, and we will have a late keyword to initialize our get storage. We will make this variable private. Then we will have a future on init method will return our storage service. So we're going to initialize our get storage. Then we will wait to check if we have the key, so which is a task key. I'm going to import a library. So this line of code will check if we already have data stored in our local storage with the key we define. If it's fine, and we will skip this line, right? If we don't have any data associated with the key, we will write this empty list to our local storage. Okay, so then we're going to return this get storage. Okay, so we're going to call this method in our main.tar. So under the line 7, we're going to use get dependence management. So it's going to use this await keyword because this will return a future type. We will use this put asynchronized, and we will use our storage service, so init method, right? So this line of code will return our storage service instance. So we're going to save the code and we close. So back to our service.tar. And because the reason I create different folder here, because back to this my map, we will have a data folder, and data folder we have a different folder. We have a enums folder, providers folder, and models folder. So we will create this service folder. So inside the service folder, we also can have different services, right? So for example, the theme services, which change your theme from dark mode to light mode. And also, for example, in here we have a storage server, which will read and write our data to local storage. For this storage server, we will provide two methods. One is read and one is write. So it will return the generic type. I'm going to receive a key. I'm going to return box.read keys, okay, which will read our data from the local storage. The generic type means if you store this list of type, you will return a list of type. If you store like string type, you will return the string type. So in here we're using this generic type. So for the write data, we have not written anything, so it will be just a void type, and we have a key. For the data, we have a dynamic type, and okay. Also, it's a synchronized. So we're going to await this box write with and rewrite the value to specific key. Okay, so then we save this file. So we finish up these storage services. Next, we're going to create our task module. So as I mentioned in this diagram, we will store those 4 attributes inside our task class. So under this data folder, we're going to create a new folder. I'm going to call it modules. And inside the modules, we will have a task.dart. So we're going to create our task class. And we will have our string title and integer icon, a string of color, and a list of to-do items, which is nullable. Okay, and then we will have our constructor for this task. Going to require the title and require this icon, require the color. So for these to-do item, we can just make it nullable, so it's not required. So we finish this constructor for the class. Then we will have another method which is copy with. So the reason we're going to create this copy with, because as you see, this task class, we give it constant keyword, so we cannot change the task. But we can use this copy with method to create a new instance. Then we could replace the existing task. So in here, we're going to use another library, which is called equitable. We will use this library later. So first we finish this method. I will require our string which is title for icon, and the color, and list of dynamic, which is our to-do item. Here I use this name parameter because those attributes are optional, right? So if you didn't pass those one, you will use the original title, icon, color, or to-dos. So we're going to return a new task. So the new task will have our title attribute. So we'll check if title, we pass the title. If we don't pass the title, you will use the original one. So we just copy the same one, right? And the same for the icon. If we don't pass anything, we just use the default icon. And also for the color. And same for to-dos. Okay, so we finish this copy with method and going to save it. So next will be our JSON serialization method, which is from JSON and to JSON. So I'm going to use this factory keyword from JSON. We're going to receive a map of a string dynamic of JSON. I'm going to return our task. We'll have a title attribute, JSON title. We have our icon attribute, JSON icon, and color attribute. Last would be to do. Okay. So double check if those a few are correct. Okay. And we have another method which is to JSON. So we will return string of dynamic. Our title and the icon, color, and to-dos. Okay. So we finish these from JSON method and to JSON method. So next we're going to import this library. So first we need to add this to our dependence. Going to open our pub/cpc YAML file and paste after this get storage. I'm going to save it. And then we need to import the library. So in our task.r, to import the library on the top. Then you're going to extend the equitable. So just follow the README file. You're going to extend this equitable. So we'll paste here, and we'll override this method, which is this prop method. So for here, we're going to return a list of property we need to compare for the task. We're going to compare it is title, icon, and color. We will ignore the to-do, right? So the to-do doesn't matter for our case. So we're going to compare the icon, the title, and the color. By using this equitable, and we can check if those tasks is the same. If you didn't use this equitable package, by default you will compare your address which stored in the memory. So you will always return the false. So you're going to use this equitable package. So you will compare those different tasks regarding to it is title, icon, and color. So next we're going to implement our provider. So as you see, the provider will access to our local storage, because in here we're using the get storage package. If you didn't use the local storage package, you can create your provider like extends the get connect, and you can fetch your data from the remote using RESTful API. But in our project, we're going to use the get storage, so we will only fetch the data from our local storage. So back to the Visual Studio Code, we're going to create another folder, call it providers. Under this data folder, we're going to create another folder, I call it task, because our provider only associated with the task. Going to call it provider.dar. Okay, so we'll create our provider task provider. Okay, and you'll access to our local storage. So we'll have this storage service. Going to find our storage service. Okay, I guess we need to import a library. So we can find our storage. Could make it private. And then we have two methods. One is read tasks, another one is write tasks. So for the read task, we're going to return a list of tasks. Right? So we're going to read tasks. I think we need to import a library for our task module. And we're going to create a task list, which will store our list of task object. So we're going to using the Json decoder. In this method, we're going to use our storage. We can read our key, so which is task key. Going to import task key. I'm going to convert it to a string. Then we can use this for each method. I'm going to access to individual element, and we're going to use task.add JSON, and we're going to return tasks. Okay, I will explain to you. So first, we're using this storage and read our data from the local storage, and we're using this task key, and we'll get a string of it, which is a JSON string, and we're using the JSON decoder to decode those strings, and we're going to map individual of the task, and we're using this task from JSON, and we convert it to a real task object, and then we add to this task list and return the task list. And here I'm going to show you the format we store the data in the database. So as you see, we have this task key, and the task key by default will have an empty list, right? Because we have these services. We will check if this task key. If it's not, we're going to write this empty list. Otherwise, we will ignore this line of code. And then you see we can store our task inside this list. And this is our individual task. We have a title, color, icon, and to do. And to do is option, right? So by using this method, so first the storage will read our key, so it will return from here, which is a list of JSON task, and we're going to convert it to a string. And then we're using for each method, the decoder will decode this JSON string to a Dart object. So for Dart we have a list of map. So we could using this for each method, and we return the individual element. So this E will means the individual of the task. So we could using this task from JSON, and we pass this JSON string, and we will actually call this Lido method, and we convert the title, icon, color, and to do, and return our task object. Then we can add to this task list, and we return it back. So I can comment here, and I save it for you to references, which is the data format we store in our local storage. Another method we're going to write is write task method, which will receive a list of task object, right? So we receive a list of task object. We were using the JSON encode, convert it to a string, so we can write it in our local storage. We will call the storage.write, and we will write to our task key. The value would be JSON encode, right? The JSON encode will return a string, JSON string. So I'm using this task. By default, it will call this method, which is to JSON. So you will convert our task object to a JSON. And since this storage field will be a private, so we could change the type to the final type. Okay, so I think we finish up this provider.dart. So next we're going to implement this repository.dart inside this storage. So we're going to close all of those files and open our repository. So in repository.dart, we will access to our provider as this diagram. In our repository, we can access to the provider. So here we're going to create our class, which is task repository. So the task per repository, we will receive the provider, task provider. Okay, the task provider, and the task provider was from it is constructor, so we will make it required this task provider, right? And then we have two methods. One is read task, another is write task. We could using this provider to implement our method. So list of task, which is read tasks, right? Going to return task provider dot read task. Okay, and also we need to import this task.dart for write tasks. Task. Okay, we also will use our task provider dot write task. Okay, and we save it. Okay, I think I will stop the video here, and we will keep working on the task management in our next video. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel, sum up my content, and open the notification so you won't miss out the latest Flutter tutorial. So thanks for watching. I will see you in next video.